Welcome back to LarryB YouTube channel. Today's class we are going to learn how to make this Ankara and lace combination dress. It's a very beautiful dress. It has an overlapping yoke on the neckline and a bustier with Gigot sleeve. It's a very simple tutorial and it's really beautiful as we have seen. This is something you would like to learn. Kindly stay tuned to the end of this tutorial. Thank you. Okay, so for this I'm working with this Ankara fabric and this cord lace. Okay, this white cord lace, that is what I'm going to be matching together, and then you need your lining for this because it's going to be fully lined. So I will start by drafting the half length first. It's a bustier blouse with yoke. So I have made my markings. This is my armhole line, this is my bust point, this is my under bust, this is my waistline, and this is the allowance that I want to add for the waistline. So the first thing I'm going to mark is my bust span. For me that's 8 inches, that's bust distance. 8 inches divided by 2, that's 4 inches. So here I'm marking the 4 inches on the bust point. I'm marking it on the bust point, on the under bust, the waistline, and then I'll make that into a straight line. So after connecting that, I will go over to the shoulder and measure what I have on the shoulder and divide that by 2. I have 5 inches, divided by 2 is 2.5. So I'm connecting like that, and then I'm going to mark. The next thing is to take my dart. So on the under bust I'm marking 1 inch on both sides. I'm doing the same thing on the waistline, and then I'm going to connect them together like this. So with my curve ruler I'm going to connect this to the bust point. Sorry, my marker is a bit faint. So now I'm going to mark the neckline for the off shoulder part. That's the part before the yoke. So you determine the depth that you want for your neckline. Okay, so now the depth that I want for this neckline, I'm going to mark that from my shoulder point, and I'm going to be working with 7 to 8 inches. So I can just leave it at around 7.5 inches thereabout, which is around here. So after marking that, you go over to your armhole. Like I said, it's an overlap yoke. Okay, the yoke is going to lap on this lower part. So I'm going to come down by 4 inches on my armhole area. Is like a sweetheart neckline. So with my curved ruler again, I'm going to connect both of them together like this. If you want it so low, you can place it on your shoulder, on your armhole measurements, but I don't want it to be too low. That's why I'm just leaving it on this line here. So now after connecting like that, I will tighten it on the upper part. So for that I'm going to take a dart of 1.5 inches. So you can share it between the two, or you do one, or you do half an inch on one side and 1 inch on the other side. So if you're going to be doing more, you should do more towards the side, not the center. Like if you're doing half and 1.5, you do half inch towards the center front, and then the 1 inch will be taken towards the side. So I'm just going to share this. So I'll do 0.75 here and do 0.75 here. So with my curved ruler again, I'm going to connect this to my bust point. I'll do that for the two sides. So you can see that it is a bit longer on this side. So I'm going to reconcile it. I'll mark what I have here. This 5.5 inches, and here I have about 5 inches. So I'll just extend this a little bit. I'm doing this because I don't want to run into any issues when I'm joining it together. I want everything to match. So now that I have taken out 1.5 inches here, I'll have a shortage here. So here I'm going to extend it by the 1.5 inches, and then I'm going to reconnect it back to my armhole. Okay, I hope you see what I have done there. So now the next thing now is to take my measurement. The bust I'm working with is 40, whereby 4 is 10. So here I have around 4 inches. I'm just going to continue here and mark my 10 inches here. Okay, so the waist is 33, like I said, whereby 4 is 8.25. So here I have 3 inches. I'm going to continue like this and mark my 8.25 here. Okay, then I'm going to add my seam allowance. You add whatever seam allowance that you want to work with. So now I'm going to connect it. So for my bust start, I'm going to come down by 2 inches here. That's the difference that I have from my half length on the front and back. And then I'm going to connect it back to my bust point. So all of this that now are going to go off. So this is an overlap blouse, overlap yoke. That's why I cannot take the yoke from these bodies, because of all of these darts that I'm taking. I don't want it to affect my bodies. So for my yoke, I have drafted like a mini bodice here. So what I did was just to trace out my basic bodice up to 1 inch below the armhole line, which was around here. So you can see that I have exact same thing here. Okay, so I just traced it out just like this, and this is where I'm going to be drafting my armhole. So I'm going to cut out this pattern first, and then we'll draft the yoke together. So these are the patterns already cut out. So this is the reconciliation I was doing there. So if you don't do that, by the time you are sewing it, it's not going to match on this upper part, and you don't want that. So I'm going to keep it and work on the yoke now. So this is my yoke. You can see it's a basic bodice. So if you're okay with this neck width, the neck width I have here is 3 inches by 3 inches. I just want to increase the width by half an inch. So I'll have 3.5 inches by 3 inches. That's my choice. So when you're drafting your back as well, you should remember that, because you are going to join them together on the shoulder. So after increasing that, the next thing is to create the keyhole yoke. So now from this upper part again, I'm going to do between 5 to 5.5 inches. Okay, so let me do 5 inches, and then I'm going to connect this to the end points. You can use your free hand like this, or you can use a cup to do that. So I'm connecting to around where my bust measurement stops. Remember, these are allowances. So this is going to be my yoke, and I'm going to cut it separately and place it on the bustier pattern that I have already made. So I'm cutting it like that, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut the neckline as well. So this is what I'm working with. This part is going to be cut on fold. So these are my patterns for the front. For the back is quite simple. So I've already drafted the back bodies. So what I'm going to do first is to increase the neck width as well by half an inch, just like I did for the front. So after that, you're going to decide the neck depth that you want. You can leave it as it is, but for me I want it a little bit low, so I'm going for 8 inches depth. So now with my curved ruler again, I'm going to connect the 2 new points together, and then I'm going to extend it to my zipper allowance. So it is as simple as that. So I'm going to grab my scissors and cut it out. So these patterns that I have cut now, I'm going to cut them out on my fabric. The back does not have a yoke, as you can see. So I'm just cutting it like this, and this is the front with the yoke. Okay, so now we move to the skirt part. So for the skirt, I have folded my fabric into 4. I folded the front and back together, and if you notice, this is the front fold on, which is a fold point. You can see it's folded, and this is the back, which is open. So I left 1 inch for my zipper allowance there. So I don't know if this chalk is visible. I hope it is. So let me try to reinforce it with this red colored chalk. So I have marked out my hip line, my knee length, and my full length. So from here I've marked this part. This way I'm going to be sewing it, so that's going to serve as my seam allowance, because you don't want your selvage area to show. So this is my half length. From there my hip line is 25, I have marked it, and then my knee length is 40 inches. I have marked the 40 inches as well. So the full length of this dress is going to be 59 inches. So because I'm going to be turning it inward, I added extra 2 inches, which is luckily the full length of this Ankara fabric as well. So when you are folding your fabric, please pay attention to the pattern on your fabric. You can see that this has a shoe and bag, so you don't want to place it wrongly, so that it's not going to be looking funny by the time you're done. So now I'll place my waist measurement here. My waist measurement divided by 4 is 8.25, so I'm going to mark that here. So after marking the 8.25, I'm going to mark 1 inch for my dart, and I'm going to mark my seam allowance, whatever seam allowance that you want to use. I'm going to go over to the hip line and take my hip measurement. The hip is 46, divided by 4 is 11.5. So here I'm going to mark the 11.5, and then I'll mark my seam allowance. So I'll move over to the knee. So for the knee, I want it a little fitted, so I'm going to deduct 1.5 inches from my hip. If you're deducting 1.5 inches, it means you're deducting 6 inches. Remember, it's folded into 4, so that 1.5 inches you multiply it by 4, that's going to give you 6 inches. So if you're okay with that, if it's too small for you, you can do 1 inch, or depending on what you want. So here 11.5 minus 1.5 is 10, so I'm marking 10 inches here, and then I'm going to add my seam allowance to that as well. So the same measurement that I marked on the knee is what I'm going to mark on the hem, because this is a straight skirt. So now I'm going to grab my ruler and connect all of this together. So with my curved ruler first, I'm going to connect from my waist to my hip like this, and then I'm going to connect from the hip to the knee. So make sure you have something that just connects everything together. You can see the smooth transition, you don't want any part sharp. So from the knee area now, I'm going to take a straight ruler and connect to the hem, because of course it is straight, it's not curved, it's a straight skirt. So that is it for your skirt. I'm going to go ahead and cut out this shape that I have. I hope you can see it. So just pay attention to how I'm cutting it. So this is the knee. So from there you can see it's curved. I'm going to cut to my hip, and then from the hip I'll go ahead and cut to, okay. So now this is the shape that I have for my skirt. So for the front has a lace design. So I'll first notch where my dart is going to be. I'm going to be placing the dart on the bust span area, which is 4 inches. So I'll just put it on fold and notch that part. Makes it easier for me when I'm joining. Okay, so after that I'm going to cut out the lining first before cutting out the lace. So I've gone ahead to cut out my lining. You can see, so for the skirt I made my lining 1 inch shorter than the main body. So this is the back and the lining for the back. So this are the half length as well. So this is my back, okay, together with the lining. So this is the side front. I added allowances here, and this is the center front as well. I added allowances on the upper part and the side seam as well. So now we're going to work on the front of the skirt. So this is the front of the skirt together with the lining. I'm going to keep the lining aside and cut the lace for the front. Okay, so I'm working with this cord lace, and this is the front of my skirt. It is asymmetric, the design is asymmetric, so that's why I cannot put the fabric on fold to cut. One side is higher and the other side just bent like that. So I'm going to treat this side first. That's the left side, which is the higher side. So you determine where you want the lace to start from. Looks like it starts from the hip line. So my hip line is 9 inches. So I have 9 inches here, but I just want mine a little higher than that. Okay, let me just maintain the 9 inches. So I have 9 inches here. So what I'm going to do now is to measure out my seam allowance, okay, so that I can get the exact point. So my 9 inches is here. So after we have taken care of that side, I'm going to move to the right side, which is the lower part. So for the right side, I'm going to use my knee as the reference point. My knee length is 40 inches. So from my half length, I'm going to mark the 40 inches. This is the 40 inches. So I want this pattern to be a little above the knee. So you can do 2 to 3 inches depending on what you want. So if I'm doing 3 inches above my knee, it's going to be around 37. If I'm doing 2 inches, it's 38. So I think 3 inches is fine. So for this side as well, I'm going to mark out my allowance. So now using a ruler, I'm going to connect the 2 lines. Let me turn this like this so that we can see it better. So I'm connecting from the hip to the knee in an asymmetric form like this. You can see how I have shaped my ruler. So now I'm trying to draw on it. So this is what is going to guide me in cutting out my lace. I don't want to mark on it too much. Sorry, the camera stopped recording. So after connecting it like that, what I just did was to lay the lace on it. Okay, you make sure that, for me, I want the selvage area to be facing upwards like this. So when I was laying the lace, and it's a see-through lace, so I can clearly see the lines that I marked. So I made sure that I placed it, you can see this is the selvage, I placed it along the slant line that I marked, just like this, and then you pin it down. So after pinning it down, you arrange the lower ones and then you just cut around it. Like I said, it's see-through, so I can easily see the Ankara fabric underneath after placing it like this. So this may waste your fabric a little bit because you're following a particular pattern, but I just want it to have that selvage pattern on this upper part where I lined it, where I slanted it, just like that, because that's what I want. So now I'll go ahead and sew on it with a white thread or invisible thread so that it doesn't show, and then you hold it down together. I've gone ahead to fix padding to the cup area of the blouse, you can see. So I have a tutorial on how you can do this as well. So what I'm going to do now is to take it to the sewing machine, and then I'm going to join it together. So I'll do this for the lining and the main fabric, and then for the back I'm going to turn the back with the lining as well, okay, because the back is simple, and then I'm going to hold my dart. So I'll do all of this now, and then I'll bring back to show us how to place the yoke. But for the yoke, I've already cut out my yoke. I don't want to hard line into it, so I'm just going to try to cut out this selvage area so that it just give me something nice, and then I'm going to be placing it on the pattern. I have sewn it, as you can see, and then I went ahead to open up the seams. So this is the main bodice, this is the lining, and I also held the dart for the back and ironed as well. So you can see I'm sewing it separately. So now I'm going to bring in the skirt. I'm going to hold the dart on the skirt and join the skirt to the upper part. I'll do the lining separately and do the main bodice separately as well, so that I can turn it out neatly. I've gone ahead to turn it with lining. You can see I sewed the half length to the skirt, and then I turn it neatly with lining like this. You want it to be as neat as possible. So this is what it looks like on the inside, and this is what it looks like on the outside. And I sewed the lace as well, just like I explained, and then I turned it together with the lining. So this is the front, and these are the two backs. I did the same thing for the back. I turned it separately with lining, and then I ironed it. So this is what it looks like, and this is the other side of the back. So I'll go ahead and fix my zipper to the back, but before then I'm going to add my yoke to the front. You can fix the yoke before turning it, but I just wanted to iron everything all together and get that done with. so I'll still find a way to sew it neatly. So this is the base, and this is the yoke. So now what I'm going to do now is to place the yoke on it. Remember, I cut it here on my armhole area, so I'm just going to match the armhole together like this, and then I'm going to do the same thing for the other side. So what you're doing is make sure nothing is packing here. It has to be as straight as possible. So now I'm going to go ahead and pin it down, and then I'll find a way to sew it down just like this. You can also hold it on this side if you want, just for more security. So the yoke is going to lap on the main bodice like this. So after sewing in the yoke, I'm going to turn it. So like I said, for my yoke, I want it to have some skin effect, so I'm not going to line it. I can just trace out the pattern here a little bit if I want, and I can still leave it like this because it doesn't frill. Then on the neckline, I'm going to turn the neckline with bias. So after that, I'm going to join the shoulder together, right side facing right side. So for the shoulder, I'm going to use the lining of the back to conceal it so that it can be neat. And then after that, I'm going to join it on the side. Then we'll decide on the sleeve that we'll work with. I have joined everything together. I decided to place a Gigot sleeve, and the tutorial is already uploaded on the channel. I'm going to drop the link in the description box down below. So this is what it looks like. You can see that it's really beautiful. I hemmed the neckline with a bias, but for the keyhole part, I didn't like how it was looking, so I decided to cut out the circle of the fabric, and then I placed it on it just to beautify it like that. I hope you enjoyed making this beautiful tutorial with me. If you enjoyed it, let us know in the comment section. Like, comment and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.